This is Roger, a historic working narrowboat. Built of wood in 1936 by Bushell Brothers at Tring, she was used to carry sand and coal for the Harvey Taylor Company of Aylesbury, then by other coal carriers until 1968, mainly captained by Arthur Bray. Having lain derelict for some years, Roger was rebuilt by Rickmansworth Waterways Trust between 1997 and 2001 and became an important part of the Trust's education work. So it was alarming to find in 2011 that significant areas of rot had set in around the bow. Major work was needed if this fine boat was to be properly conserved. We first had to secure the funding. This came from the Heritage Lottery Fund, the Arts Council and Three Rivers District Council, and we're very grateful to them for their vital support to this important project. At last we set off in December 2011 to spend 2 months with the wooden boat builder Jem Bates at Bulbourne, near Tring, only a mile or so from where Roger was built 75 years ago. This short film shows some of the work necessary for this sort of conservation and the skills required to do it. Roger docked in the old dry dock at Bulbourne in early January. The very first requirement is to survey, to establish the extent of the problems and allow detailed planning of the work. Trevor Whitling is an experienced ship surveyor. Trevor, what's the point of a survey? What's the surveyor's job?
A surveyor's job is to give an independent statement on the hull condition. So it's an independent inspection of the hull and to confirm its suitability for canal and river use and insurability. A surveyor is really the eyes for an insurance company who wouldn't come out to the boat themselves. They would employ someone to inspect. So acting on behalf of the insurance company and acting independently on behalf of a boat owner or client.
What's the qualification route to become a surveyor?
There's various ways. You can come through naval architecture at degree level. I was a marine engineer in the Merchant Navy, so I was qualified as chief engineer for steam and motor ships, and the qualifications for that are recognised by the insurance companies, which allows me to survey boats in a self-employed basis.
Trevor, how did you get involved in wooden boats in the first place?
I've been boating all my life, from the Scouts with canoeing and sailing, canal boat holidays as a child. My parents had a boat when I was in the teens. I've had my own boats from the age of 20. My second boat was a wooden boat, and I knew nothing about wooden boats to start with, and I learned pretty quickly. And I had progress as a wooden BCN tug for 22 years and totally restored it during that time. So it's been a learning curve.
Here we are with this wooden historic boat, the Roger. What are you looking for in a boat like the Roger?
I'm looking for defects initially. Obviously this boat's been thoroughly restored, it's from 14, 15 years ago. But we're looking for defects, we're looking for trends of growth of problems. So it's rot, it's split planks, it's loose planks, fixings that are loose or broken. And we're looking to maintain a watertight hull, but we're looking to maintain the correct structure in the boat, the strength where needed. Boats tend to hog all on their own. The lack of displacement at the ends and the weight of the engine and the counter block will naturally make the boat hog. So we're looking for the strength in the boat to resist that tendency. And repairs would need to be thoughtful of what's required and future repairs that will be ongoing further along the line. So repairs have got to be as part of a 10 or 15 or 20 year plan.
The boat's now in the hands of Jem Bates, the master craftsman boat builder.
I started to work in Banbury Dry Dock at Tooley's Yard, and it's a bit of an epicentre for boat building and traditional work. And some of the guys that used to work in the dock in the 40s and the 50s would still come to the gates and talk to us about how they used to build the boats and how they made things easier in those days and give us little tips. They weren't being arrogant about the way they worked, they just wanted to see their sort of family tradition continued. Herbert Tooley would come to the gates of the dry dock. He would say how they'd put the guard irons in the fire to make them more pliable so they could force them around the front end of the boat.
What's the difference between the building process, the restoration process and conservation? How do those skills vary?
Well, I think when we've built boats from scratch, it's been much quicker because you can lay out a whole set of bottoms in a day or two at the most. Whereas if I was to replace the bottom or restore the bottom of a boat, I've got to take out all the old material and make good the old to the new. And very often, if I'm involved in a full restoration, I might end up restoring the back end of a boat 1 year, and then the front end of a boat another year, and then the bottom of a boat the following year. All the time you're making good the old to the new, which is quite time consuming, but also you have problems with determining what are the actual lines of the boat. Sometimes it can be better just to do the whole thing all at once and do a full scale restoration, and then interpret those lines and possibly get a more accurate copy of the original. Building from scratch is definitely the quickest. Restoration is going to see you replace large sections of the boat and arguably still end up with something that is virtually a new boat. And then moving on to the conservation, well, really that's work that is going to stop major restoration work from occurring in the future. So we're probably looking at these boats in a lot more detail than they ever were, built for say a 10-20 year working life, and to their credit lasting 70 odd years. But we're now looking in a lot of detail at where the problems begin, the metal to the wood contact, the fixings that are used, the bedding compounds, some of the modern materials or preservatives that we feel can improve the situation. But at the same time balancing it with what worked well anyway in the past. And I think we have the evidence of this in the structures of the boats that we have left.